system. So we can move to the second slide. The next slide. Okay, we have the maintenance contract prices, and also we can mention on the spares prices. Our prices, we have different prices, different maintenance contract subscription pricing. That is, projects in Nairobi and its environs have different prices compared to projects in Machakos, Naivasha, Mombasa, Somali, and any other location. Also, the prices varies depending on the system size. That is, for the small systems, it ranges from 10 to 50 people, and the big systems, it ranges from 50 to 5,000 people. Clients are allowed to choose any category as below. We have semi-annual visits. This one we do 2 visits in a year. We have quarterly visits. This is 1 visit after every quarter. We have bi-monthly visit. That is, we do 2 visits in a month. And the final one, we have a monthly visit. That is a visit in a month. You also have spares. They are available, and the prices are different depending on the system size. We can move to the next slide. Under payment terms, we offer flexible payment plans as follows: 100% payment upon the maintenance contract signing. The second one we can offer you can pay partly, 75%, that is upon documentation signing, that is Ecocycle and the client, and 25% after 30 days. So once these payments are made, we are able to visit your site and check the system operations. And if any issue, we can also advise. The annual service and maintenance contract commences on the date the payments is received. Okay, that is all about the financial part. We thank you for your attention. So if you want to avoid what is on the first picture, you can install the Ecocycle system so that you can get what is on the second picture. Thank you. So we can now proceed to questions. If you have any questions, you can raise your hand.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Monica. Maybe before we go to questions, just to highlight on some of the things that we had on the webinar and that we had on the registrations. There are some questions that people were tackling on the registration, so maybe we start from those, and then now we go to the participants. Maybe Emmanuel.
Yep.
I'll be able to read for you the questions, so you can take us through each of them.
Okay.
The others which have been answered in the presentations. There are others which Emmanuel will answer. So
Okay.
there's various ways into which the wastewater can be reused. I think that one you've answered, right?
Yes, it's covered.
Yeah. And then there's one asking how to minimize electricity use during the rainy season. This one is Victor Mbeka. I don't know whether it's present.
Minimizing, I don't think there is any way we can minimize usage of the system, because it means if you're minimizing, it means the system has to be off. But then during the rainy season, the client is still using the system, then it means the system has to run as well. I think the question maybe the client wanted to ask was if they can still reuse the water during the rainy season. So for purposes irrigation, maybe the client might not want to pump the water to the lawns as it's raining, but then it's good to clear the water in the storage tank. So this means they can still pump it out, maybe to public drain, or still again on the lawns, or they can use it in other ways, including the washing of the cars.
Okay, thank you. There's one. Do we have? There's one asking if there's availability of spare parts.
I think that has been covered. So we have all spare parts available. So in case our system breaks down, we can always come and service and replace anything that could have gone wrong.
Okay, thank you. Then somebody's asking how long does it take to dislodge? This was from Philip Muchungo. Maybe I think he's talking about the sludge in the pretreatment chamber.
Yes, so dislodging again depends on the discipline of the plant. If we are not throwing in the non-degradable materials into the system, it means it takes longer. But for him, especially since I know his size, it would take from 5 years because it's a small system and it's a domestic system. So there are no chances of a lot of the non-degradable materials getting into the system.
Okay, thank you. Then can the system be DC powered?
Currently, we have to use an inverter from the DC, that is the direct current to AC, because those are the systems that we have in the market.
Okay, and then there's one asking, can the chlorinator be installed after this BR chamber, from the third chamber to the fourth chamber? Sorry, can the chlorinator be installed from the treatment chamber to the storage chamber?
It can, but we don't do it because if you chlorinate water before it gets into the storage chamber, there is a chance of growth of algae in that chamber. So it's also safe to pump as you reuse, because if you pump and then store it, there is that issue of algae, and again, it's not very effective in terms of costs. So you'll be you'll be chlorinating and storing. So it's easier to chlorinate as you use. So that anytime you're not using, then the water is not chlorinated.
Okay, thank you. Somebody is asking if our system have NEMA standards. I think that one you've answered.
Yeah.
Maintenance of an ecocycle system, that is what we've just covered. Economic installation of the system, this one maybe you do as an email, then we can maybe give you a brief description of the economic installation, running cost, and all those things. Final disposal of the wastewater, this one I think has also been covered.
Yeah.
Quality of the effluent, Emmanuel, right, have you covered this?
Yes. So
Yeah.
quality, again, this one can be shared in terms of wanting to know which elements are tested. I think this is best shared on email, so that at least you can see what comes in versus what gets out.
Okay, thank you. Now from the charts, we have Humphrey. No, sorry. Let me start from Ramadan. Will be able to send you the presentation after this. Yeah, that one will happen. Daniel Kagichu is asking, from the presentation, I can see that the system comprises of the mechanical and electrical components. How is the cost of a run as far as the maintenance is concerned comparable to the conventional septic tank that we usually use natural gravity? So I think it's trying to compare our system in terms of the running cost as compared to the septic tank. So maybe Emmanuel, you can give maybe a difference between our system and septic tank here.
Like he has mentioned, there is the pumping bit of it from our system, which is different from the septic tank, which utilizes gravity. But this one has to be controlled treatment. You don't want a lot of water flowing in at once into the SBR chamber. So this necessitates the pumping or the airlift pumping of a certain amount of volume that you want treated in a certain cycle into the reactor chamber. So there is a running, which is again, depending on the size, it depends on the compressor. But the compressor is more efficient than using a pump to pump from each chamber into the next. As the compressor, like for example, the small one here, the one we had showed, the bigger one is only 215 watts, and the smaller one we get up to 80 watts. So in terms of power consumption, the bill is sort of negligible in comparison to what you're getting, that is a treated water for use, again versus exhausting in case the septic fails.
Okay, thank you, Emmanuel. Now maybe to get on to Daniel. Daniel, maybe if your question has been answered, I've admitted you.
Okay, thank you, Wycliffe. I think, okay, it has been answered. Maybe I can ask another question.
Okay.
When it comes to power supply to the system, yeah, you mentioned that you can use solar. Can you have a hybrid? There's a system so that you can have both the national grid and the PV solar supply, so that you can alternate or switch depending on the supply of either of them.
Okay, thank you for your question. Yes, it's doable. You'll just have a changeover that now you can be able to control or shift from solar to KPLC.
Okay, and it can be automatic?
Yes, it can be automated as well.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Now maybe I go to the next question. This one from Humphrey. Sorry, just a moment. Humphrey is asking, how long does it take to complete a single phase treatment from the first to last chamber? Me, Troy, you can answer that.
Troy, she's out kidogo, so
Okay, continue.
I can answer on behalf.
Okay.
So for each treatment cycle takes about eight hours, because like I had mentioned, we have 24 hours in a day, and then we treat in 3 cycles. So each takes 8 hours. So every 8 hours, for example, for the small one, you get 500 liters of wastewater.
Okay, thank you. Maybe Humphrey, I've unmuted you. I don't know whether you're unanswered.
Okay.
Humphrey,
I got
you
it.
can.
I have another question. How do you
Okay.
dislodge? How do you dislodge the first chamber in case of it being in a locality? For example, there are guys sometimes work with what will happen just in case if somebody imposts the system there and then the first chamber needs to be dislodged? How will you go about it?
Discharging is done using the normal way, the exhauster. So you call the exhauster, and then they will just suck out the sewer and then go dump at the designated areas.
Okay, but just note that as I had mentioned, it takes a long time before one dislodge. You said it was around 5 years.
Yes.
Okay, Humphrey.
I think I'm answered.
Okay, thank you. And the next question. So we go to Ramadan. Can you use recycled water to wash clothes, bathing, etc.? Troy, are you in a position to answer that?
Can we use recycled water to wash clothes? No. We usually advise that recycled water is used for secondary purposes, like maybe gardening, watering your lawns, washing cars, dust suppression. Reason being, we only do biological treatment and not chemical treatment. So you find that the treated water has some chemical residue like nitrites and sulfites, which are not good for human consumption or even direct contact with the human body in terms of like bathing and washing clothes, because over a period of time it may accumulate to levels which may be harmful to the human body. So that's the reason why we do not advise for primary or direct use of the treated water.
Thank you. Maybe you can advise on what it can be used for.
Yeah, like I have said, it can be used for watering lawns, gardening. And when you're gardening, when you're using it for gardening, we advise that you pour it directly on the ground and not on the plants. Because remember, we had spoken about the treated water passing through a chlorinator kit. So that's why we do not advise it to go directly on the plants, but on the ground. You can also use it for construction in case you're in an area where construction is ongoing. So it will save you on your water bills when you use it for your construction. You can also use it to wash cars in case you have a pavement. You can use it to clean the pavements and to carry out dust suppression. Like for clients who live in Syokimau, Kitengela, Machakos, those areas are quite dusty, and most of our clients in those areas use treated water as a way of suppressing the dust.
Okay, thank you very much, Troy. Ramadan, I don't know whether you are answered.
Well answered.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. The next question. We have Sifila. Sifila is asking them about the material for the chamber. Is it concrete, masonry, or plastic? And then what's the advantage of using chlorine tablets over powder? Manuel, maybe you can take us through various tank description, the purpose for the tank and the material that should be used for the tanks.
Okay, thank you. So for the tank, construction depends on mostly the type of soil you have, the size, but we don't do plastic. The reason being the quality that we have in the Kenyan market is not good enough to be varied or to handle the wastewater. So that's the reason why we stick to either concrete or masonry, both of which have to be well waterproof to avoid any water getting out, to avoid contamination, or water getting in, which will result in flooding or having a lot of water that was not accounted for in each treatment cycle.
Thank you. I'm not seeing Sifila in, so I don't know whether she's answered. Maybe when she joins again, she'll be able to get a clarification on the same.
Okay.
She was asking about again the chlorine tablets.
Instead of that one, I didn't get that question.
What's the advantage of using chlorine tablets over powder?
Over powder.
Yeah.
Okay, so the reason why we choose to use tablets is for control. You see, when you use tablets which are inline, you are able to control the dosage. But then when you use powder, one has to be very careful so that you don't over-chlorinate. Especially for irrigation, if you have a lot of chlorine inside the water, this affects the soil acidity, which might affect your lawns or plants. So the reason we stick to tablets is just for control, and again, it's automatic. You don't have to keep opening the manholes to dose in the powder. Makes one easy.
Maybe you can emphasize again about the contact time, between the difference between the contact time between the powder and the tablet.
So the issue about contact time. So this is how the chlorine, how the period in which the chlorine gets into contact with water. So there has to be a certain time so that now the chlorine gets time to act or kill the bacteria. So with our chlorination, we have tested and it's working fine, and even better than using the powder. So that's why we have decided to stick with the tablets instead of the powder.
Okay, thank you. Sipil, I've seen you've joined.
Yes.
Maybe we'll
Sorry, I lost connection.
Okay.
But I'm back.
Okay. Did you get the answer for the second question about the chlorine tablet?
No. I've just come in.
Okay, so Emmanuel, maybe you can repeat for a sec.
Please.
Okay, so as I had said, for the reason we use the tablet is for control. It's controlled. So every time water is passing out, it's chlorinated. That's number one. Reason number two is contact time. And again, you don't want, it makes work easier. You don't want to keep opening and dosing the powder into the storage. So it makes it easier, and you don't have somebody to go every time to pour powder into the storage chamber.
Okay, maybe just an addition about, you see the tabs are arranged in such a way that the water flows through the tabs, right? So as the water flows through the tabs, there's the effect of high concentration of chlorine, making sure that whatever substance that the chlorine is supposed to remove, it's removed effectively, so that when you take your water to the lab result, the result will be efficient. I think maybe Emmanuel, maybe if you can emphasize on that, unlike using the powder.
So with powder, there is the issue of over-chlorination. So if you over-chlorinate or you send somebody to do the chlorination and then they don't do it right, it means you either increase the chlorine that will affect your plants, or you underdose, which again doesn't serve the purpose of killing the E. coli.
Thank you. Sifila, did you get were you there when he was answering about the type of material to use for the tank? Because you asked
No,
that question.
please repeat kindly.
Okay, Emmanuel, proceed.
So for the tank construction materials, we stick to either masonry or concrete, depending on the soil you have. Again, it's also dependent on the volumes that we intend to do the treatment. If you have higher volumes, it's advisable to use RC instead of masonry. And we don't use plastics because of the quality that we have here in our local market. It can be affected by the sewer, or sometimes it's heaved out of the soil.
Okay, Sifila has another question here.
Thank you.
How often are the 5% solid clean of the first chamber? This one I think was answered. The dislodging. Sifila, did you get it?
Yes, I got it. Thank you.
Okay. Do you have any other question? Or you good?
There was another one.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, this one about the effluent.
Yes.
Okay,
Monitoring over a period of time to be able to know how to use the results to know the performance of the system.
So there are set standards by NEMA or WHO to which we should adhere to. So every time we take we take samples from a particular site, this is what we compare against. So to get to know if the quality you are getting is okay, we take what we got from the storage chamber versus what we should get as per the set standards.
Okay.
What I wanted to find out when asking this question is because we know systems fail sometimes. Are we sure that we get exactly a good result every time we go to the lab? And if we don't, then what is it that we need to do? And it would also be very interesting to know how soon after installation do we start requiring to go back and check the quality? Is it after a year, after 2 years, after 3 years? What's the life? Is it 50 years? Is it forever? When I install it, does it mean, for 100 years to come, I will never need to change it? So I would be keen to know the life and how to monitor and retrofit or do the repair work. And that's why I was asking that question. Thank you.
So the number one thing that you will notice when the system has an issue is the quality of water, in terms of it will have some smell. It will be having a certain coloration or suspended solids. So that's the number one thing that you will notice if the system is not working okay. So as per how often we take the lab test, so we should, as per the regulations, the lab should be done every quarter. But then if you have an issue with the water that you're getting, it can always be done so that at least we can assure you of the quality that you're getting of the treated water.
Okay, Emmanuel, maybe to just add on the water quality.
Maybe I can add, I can rephrase the question. After how long do decommission the system, the decommissioning time, because it can't last forever?
The best way to answer this question is the system is like any other machine. So with the regular servicing and servicing, if you service, then it should last longer. We don't have a definite time that we say after a few years, then the system will fail. But then it should last as long as you need to use it.
Sorry
Huh?
to keep taking you back. How long have Ecocycle been in Kenya, for example, and have the systems been running, and how are the results today? Did you start, is the oldest 13 years, is the oldest 10 years, and today, if I went there, would I do a test and get the results which were expected?
So the oldest system we have in Kenya done, the Climax, which is the model we sell, is from 2012. So the quality is okay. So, and if you go, the quality is as was when it was first installed. You can go and do the test and you'll still get the same results.
Okay, Emmanuel,
so that says you have, the oldest is about 8 years now.
Emmanuel,
yeah.
Maybe we give Engineer Lucy Mutinda a chance. She wants to maybe put a clarification more. Maybe
Okay.
Sifila, yeah. Lucy, you're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Wycliffe. Yeah, maybe just to clarify about maintenance, which had been highlighted to Madam Sifila, the Ecocycle system does not have an end life so long as you maintain it the same way. When you buy your car, it is scheduled after every certain mileage, it goes for service. If anything is broken down, it is replaced. So, so long as you adhere to the minimal servicing requirement of twice in a year, the system can serve your lifetime. We have not had them being decommissioned. As you have been told, if you go to the oldest Climax that was ever installed in Kenya with proper maintenance, take a sample, you'll still get a good water quality. So it's very important to follow the maintenance regime for just like any other machine requires maintenance to keep operating. But of course, if you do not maintain, if the compressor breaks down, the client does not subscribe for maintenance or getting spares, or the diffusers are broken down, or the electronics are burnt out, then of course it will get to its end of life if a client is not keen on maintenance. So that's why we presented a lot on maintenance, because the bare minimum is twice in a year. We do a thorough service. If any spare part is broken down, we replace. So for a client to get a whole life service is just to make sure we follow the maintenance regime. When it comes to the oldest, we've not actually had to replace major parts. It's just the basic servicing and tiny electronics that may burn out. And yeah, probably if you have time, we can take you to like one of the oldest residential systems that have been operating in Kenya. And from the manufacturer in Germany, they have systems as old as 35 years, 40 years, and they're still running as long as they're maintained. On the samples on the screen, I don't know whether you can all see, there's a sample test of effluent of one of our systems in Syokimau. This was a test in March. So you can see the BOD, the COD levels, and the nitrates, other substances, the pH. This is for the treated effluent. I think there's also the raw sewage as it came in. This was the BOD, you see, comes down from 1,536. It gets down to 10. The COD comes down from 34,880 down to 40. And so again, these are measured against the NEMA standards. And if you like to do a test every week, every month, it's all possible to make sure the quality is working. But just remember, every test costs about, the cheapest is this Nairobi University. So one sample is 5,000. So again, it depends on how willing the client is financially, but you can do your tests even every day if you wish to be sure of the quality, so long as you're able to make the payment. But the bare minimum from NEMA is at least a quarterly test for your samples. I hope I have covered the question. Thank you.
Okay. Villa, are you okay?
Yes, thank you very much. It's clear. It's clear now.
About design, there's a question Diana is asking about design. Can the system be designed for 5 people? Troy?
Yes.
Maybe you can answer, Diana.
Yes, Diana, the system can be designed for 5 people, as the smallest system we have is for a residential home, which caters for about a maximum of 10 people. So 5 people would be calculated in this 10 people, and that means we would offer you our smallest system, which we have.
Maybe you can explain, if suppose there are 5 people, how long will you get the system water? Maybe the number of days it takes. Because if you have 10 people, it can take around a day to get 1.5 cubic meter of water. So maybe if the number is reduced, maybe you can explain on that. I think that's our worry.
Oh, the sizing of the system does not really change. So for the 5 people, we'll still give you the system that caters for 10 people. But now your rate of reaching the levels which we need in order to start treatment is what would take a bit of time. Like if we offer it for the same home which already has like 10 people, and what we need is 1,500 per day in order to switch on the system and already start it working, then it means for a home that has 5 people, we'll be getting 750, which will be half of what we'll need. So yours, it would take a bit of time in order to reach the required levels in order to start treating the water. But once the levels are reached, then the process is just continuous. It doesn't matter how many people live in the home, just as long as we have incoming sewer every day, then your water will always be treated every day. Also, for people who like have now the existing homes that have 10 people, and for instance, during holiday you go and there's only 1 or 2 people at home, then the system usually goes into a setting called an eco mode. So in eco mode, if it was treating 500, it will now start treating 250. So the system has a way of noting that there is less water in the tank, and then it resets itself to treat in eco mode. So like I was saying, for us to switch on, we will require the levels to be reached. But once we switch on and there's a drop in the incoming sewer, then that means the system will start treating it in eco mode. I hope that answers your question, Diana.
Diana, you answered.
Maybe you can unmute her.
Yes. Then you can unmute yourself. Okay, maybe when she's unmuting herself, we can go to the next question. There's one from Humphrey again is asking, why not include backflow valves just to safeguard against backflow in case of power outages? This one is funny. Emmanuel?
The reason we don't include backflow valves, the system is supposed to be emptied as the water comes in. As the wastewater comes in, it should be treated and discharged. That's why we don't do the non-return. And again, in case of outage, you still have some time before you have to worry about the contamination of the mixer, because we cater for about 3 to a week in the design to enable you to sort out the issues that you have in terms of power. So if it's in case of not pumping out, the water still flows back, because the same pipe that pumps in the water is the same pipe that will take back the water from the storage into the reactor and all the way back.
Okay, thank you, Emmanuel. We are almost done with the questions. Then maybe we finish up. About the chlorinator, I think this has been answered. EM is asking, how effective is the chlorinator given that it's not inclined? Maybe it's asking about the contact time of the water flowing through the chlorinator. I think that has already been answered. Or maybe EM, if you want more clarification. I'm not seeing him in the meeting, so maybe we go on. Ramadan is asking, apart from recycling sewer water, do you purify salty water, or can you refer me to the one doing it? No, at Ecocycle, we only deal with sewage treatment. We recycle sewage. Gerishon is asking, do you have spares in the country for quick turn around on repairs for a faster MTTR? Emmanuel, any answer to that?
Yes, we do. We have them here.
Okay. Maybe I think he had a specific spare part he's asking about. Let me unmute him. Hello, Gerishon.
I was just looking at a probability of an equipment breakdown. Then when we come to you tell us you have to wait for like a month to import the spare. So I wanted the comfort that the system can be sorted within 2 or 3 days.
That we usually look at if it's in case of a breakdown within 24 hours, we should have given you a solution. So we have all the spares, especially for the small systems, even for the big ones. So in case of any breakdown, within a day or two, it should be sorted out.
Okay. Know that. And I think I can ask another question. Do you have DC operated systems?
DC?
DC powered.
At the moment, no. So at the moment, we don't. So we have to have the inverter from DC to AC.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. There's no more questions in the chat part. Yes, so maybe on the next, as we conclude, maybe just we have a remarks from every one of you, about a 2 seconds remarks. Maybe if you have a question, so I'll just read your name and I'll meet you. Then you ask something or you give a remarks about the presentation. Yes, so I'll start from Cynthia. Hello, Cynthia. Cynthia is muted. Maybe go to Daniel. Daniel, maybe your last remark.
I would just say that's a nice presentation. Maybe we can engage further from this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Diana. Diana, yes, go on. Diana is not in. Geoffrey. Geoffrey, you can unmute yourself. Okay. Gerishon, as our client, maybe you can give your client experience of what you've. How is your experience with an Ecocycle system?
Okay. Thanks a lot. Before I give my remark,
Yes.
let me ask you another question. You've confirmed that the system can run for a week without power. I've never had a big outage, but I just want to confirm.
Did you say a week or 3 days? Emmanuel, clarify on that.
The first 2 chambers should be able to hold from 3 to 5 days or a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Never had an outage, but I've always wondered if I have an outage, what would happen. Thanks, that confirmation. Anyway, I can. I've been having the system for 2 years now. It's been very fantastic. I admit the water has really helped me to water my lawn and make my compound green. Actually, my neighbors always amazed even in the dry season how I'm able to get water. So I would say it's a very good system. I've recommended it to you guys. I'm sure one has taken it. So I don't know whether all the participants here have it or some don't have it, but so far, very impressed with the system.
Thank you very much, Gerishon. Humphrey?
Okay,
again, something else I forgotten. This
Okay.
Gerishon, the power consumption is very low, so you can't even notice it in your Kenya power bill. That's why I was asking about whether we can get a DC system, because initially I thought of putting it on the solar system, but I stopped. But its power consumption is very low, so you won't even feel it in your bills.
Thank you very much for that, Gerishon. It's a clarification. I think many people had that question. Humphrey?
I've seen the main part in your system is the air compressor and the pump, isn't it?
Yeah.
So essentially, you people aerate the wastewater, and then the biological process takes place. Then
Yes.
you get the effluent, right?
Yes.
Okay. So essentially, you people, I mean, like, will there be some sort of filter after that biological process, some sort of fine filter, just to make sure that at least the quality gets a little bit higher? Have you ever tried that, to include a filter, like in the exit between the last chamber to the storage, just before it gets to the storage? You include filters. You can even put 2.
Okay, Emmanuel?
So we have some places where clients have opted to do sun filters. Again, depending on the quality, that determines the number of filters we will have. And we have had other filters also installed inline as the water is going for reuse.
Okay, it's good, because wastewater, it's all about
Maybe I can add something. Maybe I can add something. When we develop, you saw in the reactor chamber, there is the reactor chamber where we grow the biomass, and that's where the treatment happens. So when our biomass film has developed to maximum during sedimentation or settling, when we do not have aeration, it acts as a perfect blanket and goes down with all the sediments, so that the water that is left has no floating substances or particles that are visible. So by the time it's going to storage, it's actually usually very clear and almost can be confused with drinking water. The only time we are likely to have issues is in case we get power outages or a client forgets to pump out the treated water, and so there is mix up. So some clients take that precaution. So in the event that there is a mix-up or there is contamination in the 4th chamber, then the filter will be able to remove the particles that may have accidentally found themselves in the 4th chamber. But on a normal operation, especially the home systems, the single phase, they are not problematic because they don't lose power a lot. And if we put a picture here of how the water looks, it's actually very, very clear, only that you may have the filter as a contingency, and especially the clients who have pumped it back to flush toilets, most of them like to take that precaution in case of a power failure and there's an issue, they still continue to get clear water in the toilets. Thank you. I'll try to project a picture here. Let me look for one.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I'm thinking,
You can go on with the questions. I think there are more questions.
For example, I know the system is quite diverse, but just in case you include something like a flocculant powder, something like that, there are normally this type of powders that speed up the flocculation process, and a coagulant powder. So in case, you know, when the wastewater comes in chamber 1, and then it flows out into a chamber 2, and this chamber 2, if it has some sort of flocculant or coagulant powder, that essentially what it does is just, I know you know, it speeds up the stacking up of the smaller particles. So you may find that even if it still stays in the system for 8 hours, but you may find the system becoming more dependent in that. I think I'm done with that.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much. We always have polyaluminum chloride as an example pack, especially for these large scale systems. A lot of our clients have issues with the power outages and they've not invested in backups. So as we are remedying a situation where maybe the SBR, the water is not coming out good, sometimes we will pour in the polyaluminum chloride, which acts as a very excellent flocculant, and it goes down just like this is pure biomass without any flocculants. But also when you add a flocculant to a problematic system, it tends to behave exactly this way, and it settles very fast and you have your clear water.
Is this water, gray water, I mean, is it just general water that comes from flushing toilets and stuff?
All your household waste, kitchen, showers, bathrooms, toilets. We are a bit different from the popular name known as biodigester that most people embrace, maybe because of price differences, because we are a bit of a premium price compared to biodigesters. But with a biodigester, you have to separate. It only takes the toilet water, then you have to sort of make a swamp or a soakage within your compound for the rest. But our system takes up everything.
Okay, thank you so much. I can give a chance to the rest, maybe.
Okay, thank you, Humphrey. Jerry Ngugi. Jerry Ngugi, you can unmute yourself.
Hi. Hello.
Hello. Yes, hello. Getting you.
Yes, I was just learning about it. I don't have any questions right now.
Okay, thank you. Madam Ali, the last comment.
Mine is just to thank you for the good presentation, and looking forward to see what we can do together in future.
Okay.
Last
Thank
one,
you.
sorry. You did not tell us the cost, the capital cost of installation.
For the cost, maybe you do us an email, and maybe we do a quotation according to your system size.
Okay.
Yeah, so after this, maybe we'll
But
give
maybe for, sorry.
Okay, continue.
We could just maybe highlight on the smallest system, which we normally call the 5 to 10 people, which is like what Gershon has at his place, that is capable of doing between 500 liters to 1500 liters of sewage per day. For the attendees in this webinar, when you send your inquiry, we are willing to offer about 30% discount, and that can make it about 430,000, and you pay in 6 installments. People like Gershon are lucky they bought it before VAT was imposed on our systems, because in April tax amendments, even our systems attracted VAT. Previously, they were exempt, and people like Gershon might have enjoyed it when the system was below 400, around 380 something, 50,000. But now, because of 14% VAT, it has shot up to the 430, even after a very good discount. And we are always willing to listen. We are not very stuck on 4 installments or 6 installments. We are happy to negotiate and give a flexible payment plan, especially in this hard COVID financial times. So feel free to send us your request, give us the details of your occupants, and then we'll be able to work out something favorable for you. But we can, anybody from this webinar, you can reference the 30% discount. So when we are giving you the offer, we consider that. Thank you very much.
I'm just asking, does that cost include the construction of the chambers, please?
No, that is exclusive of the civil works, but it covers the supply of the machinery, the installation, inspection of what as your contractor does the tank, and we also issue you the schematic drawing showing the actual volumes and sizing of all the chambers.
Okay.
Okay, maybe
just a question.
Yes.
Maybe there's something engineer was explaining that this system is different from the conventional biodigester. I didn't get it clearly. Does it mean that for the Ecocycle, you don't have to have two parallel lines, as it were? That is for grey water and for the toilet waste. Just come again on that point again, please.
Okay, thank you very much. That's correct, what you have said. We are different from biodigesters because you do not need to have double manhole network or separating your toilet from the rest of the other type of water. So all your wastewater from your house, be it the showers, the toilets, the bathrooms, they share the same manholes up to the point of entry into our system. But with a biodigester, you have two parallel networks of manholes. For the toilet water, which is black, and for the gray. Gray means the bathrooms, the kitchens, the laundry, hand wash sinks, and showers. So for us, you don't need to separate. They all come together into the system. If you want to take it back to flush your toilets, then of course you need to have two separate lines of fresh water and recycled water to go to the toilets only. I hope I have answered.
That's correct, but which leads to another question, and I don't want to sound like a doubting Thomas. Now, can
yes,
you have the same system, but you have another redundant system whereby you do a parallel line, not because you don't believe on the treatment of the plant, but just as a safeguard measure, that if this fails, you still have your separation of the black and the gray water?
Well, I would say you do not need to doubt. Maybe the only place you can have mitigation is after chamber 4. In case for sure, maybe you no longer have Kenya Power Supply, or there is a real serious breakdown and the water comes out untreated, then it soaks. So what I would say as your fallback is after chamber number 4, it overflows to a soak pit or a French drain instead of connecting it instead of reusing it.
Okay, thanks, engineer. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe to come to a conclusion of this, Diana was asking a question, maybe if somebody has traveled for a long time. I think this was already explained by Troy, where the system is said to go to an eco mode. Maybe Troy, you can give him further clarification on that. If somebody travels for a long time.
Just as explained, if somebody travels from home for a long time, the system will detect that there is low incoming sewer, and therefore it will automatically take itself to eco mode, whereby instead of treating the full volume that it's meant to treat, depending on the size of the system, it will revert to treating half of the volumes required. And when the flow goes back to normal, then the system will take itself back automatically to treating the required volumes. I think that explains it.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you all for participating. Maybe Esther, you can give us a last remark before we close. Then you can maybe close for us with a word of prayer. Esther?
Yes, please.
You can give us a last remark, and then maybe close for us with a word of prayer.
All right. Just like to thank everyone for participating in this webinar. We really appreciate your time, and we hope we have answered most of your questions, if not all. And in case of any further clarifications, you can just reach out to us. We should be able to clarify some more. And thank you so much to our client, Gerishon, for joining us during this webinar. We do appreciate your support, and we hope to continue with the excellent service we have been offering. So for now, we just close with a word of prayer. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you this afternoon. We want to thank you for the gift of life that you have given unto us, oh God. Thank you for the webinar that we have just undertaken. And we pray that we have answered all the questions. And we ask that as we continue with our business, may you continue to protect us, oh God, protect our clients, and even everyone in this webinar. We pray that it has been a fruitful engagement, and we will see the results in future. Thank you, and we bless you. And we bless everyone that is in this meeting, together with their families and friends. For it is in Jesus' name we do pray and believe.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.